The stars stretched endlessly across the black sea of space. The human exploratory fleet Resolute Dawn drifted on silent engines near the edge of a dying star. The light from the star was faint and red, as if it struggled to stay alive. Most ships avoided this part of the galaxy. It was a dead zone, empty of trade routes or colonies. But Captain Elias Ward had always believed that the strangest treasures could be found where others refused to look. The crew of the Resolute Dawn had been traveling for months, mapping old regions of space for signs of resources or ancient ruins. The mission was long and often boring. Morale was low and most of the crew were tired of empty scans. But then, without warning, sensors caught something strange. Floating near the outer orbit of the dying star was a massive shape. At first, the crew thought it was a natural formation, maybe an asteroid. But as they moved closer, details emerged. Hard lines, broken towers, sharp edges. It was no rock. It was a ship. The derelict vessel was bigger than any ship built by humans. Its body stretched for kilometers, black metal scarred by old battles. Spires of armor jutted out like the bones of a giant beast. The ship seemed both dead and alive, as if some hidden power still slept within. The faint glow of runes or maybe lights ran across its surface, pulsing slowly like the heartbeat of something ancient. The bridge of the Resolute Dawn was filled with whispers. My God, it's huge. What kind of ship is that? No, human hands built this. Captain Ward stood at the front, his jaw set as he stared at the screen. He had seen strange things before, but this was different. This was history staring back at him, maybe even danger. Any signs of life? Ward asked, his voice calm. The science officer shook her head. No life detected. The systems are almost dead. But, Captain, I think there's still some kind of energy deep inside. A core, maybe. Ward nodded slowly. Curiosity burned in him stronger than fear. Humanity had been in space for only 2 centuries. They had found ruins, old machines, even fragments of civilizations long gone. But never a whole ship like this. A warship, if his eyes were right. Prepare a boarding team, he ordered. We're going in. The crew tensed, but no one argued. Orders were orders. Within the hour, Ward and 5 of his best officers were suited in armored exosuits ready to step into the unknown. The docking clamps connected their shuttle to the side of the alien ship with a loud metallic thud. The airlock hissed. Stay close, Ward said. His voice echoed inside the helmet. Keep your weapons ready, but don't shoot unless I give the word. We're explorers, not raiders. The doors opened, and they stepped inside. The alien ship's interior was dark and cold. Their helmet lights cut through the shadows, revealing walls of black metal covered in strange carvings. The air was thin but breathable, though heavy with dust and the smell of age. Broken corridors stretched endlessly. Some caved in, others, strangely intact. This place gives me the creeps, one officer muttered. Ward agreed, though he kept his voice steady. Stay sharp. The core is deep inside. That's where we're going. As they moved deeper, the ship felt less like a machine and more like a cathedral. Towering halls rose above them, filled with statues of armored figures. Their faces were sharp and cruel, their fangs bared. The designs looked like warriors, but also like kings and queens. Captain, whispered another officer, shining his light on one of the carvings. These look like vampires. Ward frowned. The statues did have a resemblance to the myths of Earth. Tall, regal beings with fangs, their eyes carved as if they could pierce souls. Coincidence, maybe, or proof that myths had roots in something real. He filed the thought away. After hours of walking, they reached a central chamber. The walls glowed faintly with red light, powered by some ancient generator that refused to die. In the center stood a stasis pod, tall and sealed with black crystal. The glass was covered in frost, but through it, Ward saw a figure. It was a woman, or at least shaped like one. Her armor was elegant and cruel, sharp edges glinting faintly. Her skin was pale as moonlight, her hair dark as night. And even in sleep, her presence filled the chamber with a strange weight. Life signs detected, the science officer said quietly. She's alive, somehow, in stasis for who knows how long. The crew exchanged nervous looks. What do we do, Captain? Ward stood silently for a moment. He had choices. They could leave her here. They could try to take the pod back to their ship. Or they could wake her. Curiosity won. Humanity had always been driven by the hunger to know. Activate the controls, Ward ordered. The officer hesitated. Sir, that could be dangerous. Do it, Ward said firmly. The panel hissed as ancient machinery groaned to life. Lights spread across the chamber, bright and red, pulsing like veins. The pod cracked open slowly with a sharp hiss of escaping air. Frost spilled across the floor. The woman's eyes opened. They were red. The crew froze, weapons raised but trembling. Ward held out his hand. Hold fire. The woman stepped forward, her movements graceful, almost too smooth. She looked at each of them, her gaze like fire burning into their souls. When she spoke, her voice echoed with power, yet it carried a strange elegance. Who dares wake Queen Velara of the Crimson Dominion? The words were not English, but Ward understood them. A psychic echo filled his mind, shaping her language into his. The crew panicked. She can speak. What is she? What is? Ward forced calm into his voice. We are explorers, we mean no harm. Her eyes narrowed. Explorers. Humans. I taste your minds. Curious, foolish, stubborn. She smiled faintly, revealing sharp fangs. You wake a queen of shadows. Do you understand what you have done? Ward's heart raced, but he didn't flinch. We came searching for knowledge. We didn't expect to find you. Velara studied him for a long moment, silent. Then slowly she tilted her head. You amuse me. You speak boldly, even before power greater than yourself. Few dared such words in my empire. The crew shifted nervously. The tension was thick. Ward felt the pressure of her gaze, as if she could crush him with a thought. He needed to break it somehow. So with the dry humor that had always been his shield, he gave a crooked smile and said, Well, I want you on my team. It was meant as a joke, a small release of tension, nothing more. His crew stared at him in shock, some nearly groaning at his timing, but Queen Velara did not laugh. Instead, her expression shifted into something strange. Her lips curved in a different kind of smile, one that was unreadable. Without a word, she reached to her chest plate. Metal hissed as she began removing her armor. The crew gasped in horror and confusion. Ward froze, realizing too late that his words had not been taken as a joke. And that was how everything began. The air inside the ancient chamber grew heavy as Queen Velara's armor clattered against the cold floor. Each piece fell with a sharp metallic echo, ringing through the vast hall like the toll of ancient bells. The human crew stood frozen, eyes wide behind their helmets, hands gripping their weapons but too shocked to act. Captain Elias Ward felt his stomach twist. His attempt at humor had gone wrong in the most bizarre way possible. He had made countless jokes over the years, sometimes even at the edge of battle, but never had one nearly started an interspecies misunderstanding on this scale. Wait, wait! Ward raised both his hands quickly, palms open, trying to gesture that he meant no harm. Hold on, there's been a mistake. But the queen did not stop. She stood tall, her pale skin glowing faintly in the dim red light of the chamber. Her long hair spilled across her shoulders like flowing darkness. She moved with calm grace as if she were performing some sacred ritual, her eyes locked on Ward. You spoke the words, she said. Her voice was smooth, yet it carried the weight of command. I want you. In my tongue, in my law, that is a vow. Do you understand, human? You have bound yourself to me. Ward's crew looked at him in horror. One of them whispered, Captain, what did you just do? Ward kept his eyes on the queen. His pulse raced, but his voice stayed firm. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Where I come from, those words mean something very different. Velara tilted her head slightly like a predator studying strange prey. Different. Explain. Ward swallowed. He could feel every gaze in the chamber pressing against him. In my people's language, it was a joke. A light remark, nothing serious. I didn't know your customs. I wasn't making a vow. Silence stretched. For a moment, Ward wondered if she would strike him down where he stood. Instead, her expression shifted to one of amusement. A soft laugh, low and melodic, echoed in the chamber. You speak of vows so carelessly? How human. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing faintly red in the shadows. I have seen many species, warriors, slaves, kings, but never one who toys with sacred words. You are bold, human, foolish perhaps, but bold. Ward kept still. He felt the pressure of her presence like a storm pressing down on him. Boldness is sometimes how we survive. Her smile widened. Yes, I see that now. She stopped just a step away from him, towering slightly over his armored frame. Very well. If your words were not meant as vow, then I will not hold you to them. But I will remember. You may find my people's traditions are not so easily set aside. The tension broke like a string pulled too tight. The crew let out the breaths they had been holding. Ward slowly lowered his hands. His heart was still racing, but his mind was clear. He knew then that this woman, this queen, was not just some relic of the past. She was dangerous, clever, and perhaps unpredictable. But before he could speak again, the ship itself groaned. The wall shuddered. A voice came from his comms. Captain, this is the Resolute Dawn. Multiple ships detected on long-range sensors. They're closing fast. Looks like scavenger fleets, maybe raiders. They've picked up our signal. Ward cursed under his breath. Of all the times. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Scavengers, she said, her voice cold. Vultures of the void. They circle when they smell weakness. In my age, we would burn them from the stars. Ward tapped his comm. Understood. Keep shields up. We'll return as fast as we can. Then he looked back at Velara. If these scavengers come, we'll have to move. Can your ship still fight? Her expression hardened. Once this vessel was the heart of my empire. Now it sleeps, broken, hungry. It cannot fight as it once did. But I still hold power. Her words carried a strange weight, and Ward wondered what she meant. We can't stay here, he said firmly. If those scavengers reach us, they'll take everything. This ship, you, us. We'll be slaughtered. But if we work together, maybe we can make it out alive. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Very well, human. I will fight beside you. But know this. My kind do not fight for free. You have already spoken the words. Whether you meant them or not, our bond has begun. Ward bit the inside of his cheek. He had no time to argue. Fine. We'll deal with that later. Right now, we need to get back to our ship. The crew hurried, following their captain as he led the way out of the chamber. The Queen walked with them, unhurried, her bare feet silent against the alien, metal floor. Despite her lack of armor, she radiated strength. Even in her weakened state, there was no doubt she was something far beyond human. As they moved through the corridors, Ward risked a glance at her. You've been asleep a long time, haven't you? She gave a faint nod. Centuries, perhaps longer, my empire fell. My enemies came in endless waves. I fought until the stars themselves burned low. Then I was betrayed, sealed in that chamber. Until you woke me. Ward considered her words carefully. So you're the last of your kind? Her eyes darkened. Perhaps. Or perhaps some still hide in the shadows of forgotten worlds. It matters little. The Crimson Dominion is gone. Ward felt a flicker of sympathy. He knew loss. Humanity had suffered its share of wars and disasters, yet they always rebuilt. Empires fall, but life goes on. Her gaze lingered on him, curious. And humans rebuild, always? We try, Ward said. We make mistakes. We fight. But we don't give up. That's who we are. Her lips curved slightly, as if she was testing a smile she had not worn in ages. Strange. In my empire, failure meant death. Weakness was purged. Compassion was rare. Ward said nothing more, but the thought stayed with him. Maybe this queen would learn as much from them as they could learn from her. By the time they reached the docking bay, the ship trembled again. Distant, echoes of engines rumbled through the walls. The scavengers were closing in. The crew rushed into the shuttle, weapons ready. Velara stepped in last, looking around the cramped human vessel with an expression of faint amusement. Small, she murmured. Crude, but alive. Ward strapped into the pilot's seat and fired the engines. The shuttle detached, and they shot back toward the resolute dawn. On the main screen, the scavenger ships appeared, dozens of them patched together from stolen metal, bristling with weapons. They were predators, and the humans were their prey. Captain, incoming hail from the lead scavenger ship, the comm officer reported. Put it through, Ward said. The screen flickered, showing the snarling face of a scarred alien raider. Humans. You found something. We can smell it. Surrender the prize, and maybe we let you live. Ward's jaw tightened. Not happening. The raider laughed harshly. Then you die screaming. The screen cut off. Enemy ships began to move into attack formation. Ward turned to his crew.
Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Shields up, weapons hot. Then, as if on instinct, he glanced at the Queen. If you meant what you said about fighting, now would be a good time. Her eyes glowed faintly red, her expression sharp.
As a blade. Oh, I meant it, let them come. They will learn why the stars once feared my name. And for the first time, Ward believed she might just mean every word. The scavenger fleet spread across the void like a pack of wolves circling their prey. Dozens of jagged ships, each one scarred from old battles, moved to cut off the resolute dawn. Their engines burned bright in the darkness, and their weapons came alive with a hungry glow. On the bridge of the resolute dawn, alarms blared. Red lights painted the walls, and the voices of crew members overlapped in rising panic. The humans had faced raiders before, but never this many at once. Captain Elias Ward stood at the center, calm but focused. His eyes stayed locked on the screen as the scavengers moved into formation. At his side, Queen Velara sat silently, her hands folded neatly in her lap, as if she were a queen watching from a throne. Status report, Ward ordered. Shields holding. Weapons online, said the tactical officer. But Captain, we're outnumbered 5-1. Their firepower is heavy. We won't last long in a straight fight, Ward nodded. Then we don't fight straight. He looked at the Queen. Her red eyes glowed faintly, like embers hidden beneath ash. She had said she still had power. He wanted to believe it, but he needed more than words now. You said you could fight, Ward said firmly. What exactly can you do? Velara smiled faintly. Your world is young, human. Your machines are strong but limited. My kind were not bound by such limits. I can draw on the star itself. Its energy feeds me. With enough focus, I can strike down ships as if they were insects. The crew stared at her in disbelief. One officer whispered, "She's insane." But Ward remembered the way the walls had glowed when she awoke, how the ship had seemed to pulse with her presence. He didn't think she was lying. What's the catch? Ward asked. There's always a price. Velara's smile faded. The strain is great. If I draw too much, I will weaken, perhaps even fall. My empire once had thousands to share the burden. Now I am alone. Ward thought quickly. If she burned herself out, they might win the battle but lose her forever. That wasn't acceptable. Humanity needed allies, not corpses. Then we fight smart, Ward said. He turned to his crew. Engineering, prep the mining drones. Arm them with explosives. Tactical, load the railguns but hold fire until I give the order. Navigation, plot us a slingshot course around the star. We're going to use its gravity. The crew moved quickly, though some still glanced nervously at the Queen. Velara leaned closer to Ward. You gamble much, human. Do you always risk so boldly? Ward gave a small grin. It's kept us alive so far. The scavengers moved in. Their leader hailed them again, face twisted with arrogance. Last chance, human. Hand over the relic and the queen, or you'll all die in fire. Ward folded his arms. You want her? Come and try. The comm cut off. The first wave of scavenger fire lit the void. The resolute dawn shook violently as plasma bolts struck the shields. Sparks flew across the bridge, but the crew held firm. Shields at 70%, someone shouted. Return fire, Ward barked. The railguns roared, sending metal slugs tearing into the nearest scavenger ship. One raider vessel burst apart in a silent explosion, its debris scattering like glowing dust. Velara rose to her feet. Her eyes blazed now, no longer faint but burning bright red. She raised her hand slowly as if she were pulling invisible strings. The ship's lights dimmed. Every screen flickered. Captain, the science officer said nervously, she's draining power from our systems. No, Ward said, watching her carefully. She's pulling from the star. Outside, the dying star flared suddenly, its weak red glow blazing brighter. Streams of light stretched outward like threads weaving through space. They bent toward Velara, toward the resolute dawn. Then, with a voice that echoed in every human mind, she whispered, Burn. A spear of red energy shot from her hands, lancing across the void. It tore straight through a scavenger cruiser. The ship split in two, molten metal spilling like blood into space. The crew gasped. She did it again, and another scavenger ship vanished in a wave of fire. The scavenger fleet faltered. Panic rippled through their formation. Captain, the tactical officer said in awe, she's destroying them single-handedly. Ward didn't smile. He could see the strain already. Velara's steps wavered, her skin paling even more. Sweat beading on her brow. Her body trembled each time she unleashed her power. Hold steady, Ward ordered. Keep pressure on their flank. Engineering, release the mining drones, now. Hundreds of small machines, normally used for braking, apart asteroids shot from the resolute dawn. But today they carried explosives strapped to their hulls. They swarmed toward the scavenger fleet like a cloud of angry insects. The raiders tried to shoot them down, but they were too many, too fast. Explosions rocked across their formation as the drones slammed into engines and weapon ports. Multiple ships crippled, Tactical shouted. We've evened the numbers. Ward gritted his teeth. Good. Helm, bring us around the star. Let's use the gravity to slingshot past their main line. The resolute dawn curved sharply, pulled by the massive force of the dying star. Enemy fire streaked past them, missing by narrow margins. The maneuver threw half the scavenger fleet off balance, forcing them to split their formation. Velara released one last blast of red energy, tearing a path open. Then she staggered, her knees buckling. Ward caught her before she fell. Her body was ice-cold, trembling violently. Enough, he said firmly. You've done enough. Her lips parted in a faint smile, though her eyes were heavy. Not enough. They still swarm. Ward shook his head. Rest. It's our turn now. He placed her gently in the command chair and turned back to his crew. Target their flagship. Put everything we've got into it. If we break the head, the body will scatter. The railguns thundered. Torpedoes launched. The resolute dawn focused its fury on the scavenger command ship. The Queen's earlier attacks had weakened it, and now human ingenuity finished the job. The flagship exploded in a storm of fire. At once, the scavenger fleet broke. Leaderless and battered, their ships scattered into the darkness, fleeing one by one. The void fell silent again. The bridge filled with cheers. The crew shouted in relief and triumph, embracing each other. Ward didn't cheer. He looked down at Velara. She lay weakly in the chair, her breathing shallow. You saved us, he said quietly. Her red eyes flickered open, faint but steady. No, Captain, we saved each other. Your machines, your tricks. Without them, I would have burned too bright. And without me, you would have been ash. Together, we endure. Ward nodded slowly. He couldn't argue with that. Humanity had always Survived by adapting, by making unlikely allies, by turning mistakes into victories. Maybe this queen, this relic of a dead empire, was the key to something greater. But he also knew the danger. She was powerful, unpredictable, bound to customs he barely understood. And she thought his careless joke had created a bond between them. As the crew settled and the ship drifted in safer space, Ward leaned against the railing, staring at the stars. One thing was clear: humanity was no longer alone, and their future had just become far more complicated. The battlefield drifted quiet now. Shattered pieces of scavenger ships floated across the void like fragments of broken glass. Fires burned in the wreckage, dimming slowly until only cold metal remained. The resolute Dawn moved carefully through the debris, its engines humming with tired strength. On the bridge, the crew sat in silence. The victory was theirs, but the cost was still heavy. The Queen rested in the command chair, pale and drained, her eyes closed as if in deep sleep. Captain Elias Ward stood nearby, watching her. For all her power, she looked fragile now, almost human. But he remembered the fire she had unleashed, how entire ships vanished with a single gesture. He could not forget it. "Status?" Ward asked. "Shields at 30%, weapons low on ammunition," the tactical officer reported. "Hull damage is minor, but we burned through half our reserves pulling those maneuvers." Ward nodded. "Engineering?" "Engines stable, but not for another battle like that," came the reply. Ward rubbed his jaw. They had survived, but barely, and the scavenger fleets were never truly gone. Word would spread quickly. Human explorers had uncovered an ancient weapon, a queen of forgotten power. Others would come, stronger than scavengers. His eyes shifted back to Velara. She stirred now, opening her crimson eyes slowly. They glowed, faintly, weaker than before. "You pushed yourself too far," Ward said quietly. Her lips curved in a small smile. "And yet we live. My empire once fought endless wars, but never did I feel such satisfaction as I do now, fighting beside you humans." "Strange." Ward gave a small laugh, though it carried no humor. "Strange is one word for it." The science officer stepped forward. "Captain, with respect, what do we do with her? She's powerful, yes, but dangerous. If others find out we have her, humanity will become a target." Ward knew she was right, but he also knew abandoning Velara wasn't an option. She had fought for them. Without her, they would already be wreckage, floating among the stars. "We don't abandon allies," Ward said firmly, "not when they risk their lives for us." Velara's gaze softened. For a queen who once ruled with iron and fire, the word ally was foreign. Yet she liked the sound of it. "Captain," she said, her voice soft but sharp, "you understand that my power is not limitless. If stronger fleets come, I cannot protect you alone. But together perhaps we can. Your kind's ingenuity, as you call it, is unlike anything I have seen." Ward folded his arms. "Then we make a plan. If the scavengers send word, we'll need to be ready for worse. You know this galaxy better than we do. What are we facing?" The Queen grew silent. For a moment, her eyes drifted to the stars beyond the viewport. When she spoke again, her voice carried both pride and sorrow. "My empire once spanned 1,000 systems. We crushed armies, drained stars, bent civilizations to our will. But when we fell, the scavengers were not the ones who broke us. It was others, rivals who hated our hunger, who feared our strength. Even now I can feel their shadows in the void. They will come if they learn I live. And they will not stop." The crew shifted nervously. The idea that something greater than scavengers lurked out there waiting was enough to chill even seasoned explorers. Ward, however, did not flinch. "Then we'll be ready. Humanity has fought long odds before. We're still here." Her crimson eyes studied him carefully. "You speak as if your kind cannot be broken." Ward shrugged lightly. "We can be broken, but we don't stay broken. That's the difference." She tilted her head, thoughtful. In her empire, weakness had been purged, failure punished by death. Yet here stood a man who admitted weakness but claimed strength through persistence. It was alien to her, yet compelling. Before more could be said, alarms blared again. The navigation officer shouted, "Captain, another fleet is approaching from hyperspace." Ward's eyes narrowed. "How many?" "Too many," came the reply. "At least 20 warships, larger than scavengers, heavier weapons." The bridge fell into silence. The crew's relief from their earlier victory vanished instantly. Ward turned to Velara. "Are they who you think they are?" She closed her eyes briefly, sensing the void beyond. When she opened them, her voice was grim. "Not scavengers, not raiders. These are organized, disciplined. One of the factions that rose after my empire's fall. They come for me." Ward clenched his fists. They had barely survived the last fight, and now something worse was bearing down on them. The tactical officer whispered, "Captain, we can't win this. Not against 20 ships." Ward stood tall. "Maybe not in open battle, but we're not fighting open battle. We use what we've got." He looked at Velara. "You said your power is weaker now, but can you still help us?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Yes, but not as before. I can shield us, cloak us in the star's light, perhaps confuse them for a time. But if I try to destroy them, I will fall." Ward nodded. "That's enough. Buy us time and we'll find a way out." The Queen rose to her feet, unsteady but proud. "Then let us gamble again, Captain. Together." The new fleet appeared from hyperspace. Their ships were sleek, dark, and disciplined, their formation tight. At their center was a massive flagship, easily 3 times the size of the Resolute Dawn. The comm crackled to life. A deep voice echoed across the bridge. "This is Admiral Kale of the Dominion Remnants. Humans, you carry what does not belong to you. The Crimson Queen is ours. Surrender her, and we will let you leave alive." All eyes turned to Ward. He stepped forward, folding his arms. "Not happening. She's with us now." The Admiral's laughter was cold. "Then you will die with her." The fleet moved into attack position. Velara closed her eyes. Her body glowed faintly, her aura spreading through the ship. The lights dimmed and the hull shimmered. Suddenly, the Resolute Dawn vanished from scanners cloaked in the star's energy. The enemy fleet fired blindly, beams of light cutting through empty space. The humans held their breath as the ship drifted silently through the chaos. Ward whispered, "Navigation, bring us close to the star. Use its gravity well to slingshot us past their line." The officer nodded, guiding the ship carefully. The Queen's voice echoed faintly, strained but steady. "Hurry, I cannot hold this veil for long." The ship curved dangerously close to the star, its red surface boiling with energy. The hull groaned under the pull, but the maneuver worked. They shot around the star's edge, coming out behind the enemy fleet. "Cloak dropping," Velara gasped, collapsing back into the chair. The ship shimmered back into view. Enemy sensors immediately locked onto them. "Captain, they see us." Ward didn't hesitate. "Engineering, release the last of the mining drones. Tactical, fire everything we've got at their engines. Go!" The drones swarmed out again, this time carrying every explosive they had left. They darted straight into the engines of the enemy's smaller ships. Explosions lit the void as 6 ships fell crippled in seconds. At the same time, the Resolute Dawn's remaining weapons fired, striking at the flagship's engines. The great ship shuddered, slowing slightly. But the enemy was far from broken. Dozens of ships turned, unleashing their fury at once. The Resolute Dawn shook violently, alarms screaming. "Shields failing," the tactical officer cried. Ward gritted his teeth. They were out of tricks, out of weapons, and the enemy still had overwhelming numbers. Velara rose again, unsteady, her body glowing faintly once more. "One more strike," she whispered. "Enough to blind them, but it may cost me." Ward grabbed her arm firmly. "No, you've done enough already. I won't let you burn yourself out." She looked at him, surprised. No one had ever denied her before. Ward turned back to the crew. We're not finished yet. Humanity doesn't win by being stronger. We win by refusing to quit. Helm, plot a micro-jump through their formation. We'll cut straight through, get out on the other side. The officer hesitated. That's suicide. Do it, Ward said firmly. The jump drive roared. Space bent. The Resolute Dawn shot forward in a blinding flash, ripping through the heart of the enemy fleet. Beams of fire streaked past them, missing by inches. One enemy ship collided with another in the chaos. Then, in an instant, they were through. The fleet scrambled to follow, but the humans were already gone, racing into the dark with every engine burning. The bridge filled with gasps and relieved laughter. They were alive. Ward slumped back, exhausted but steady. He looked at Velara, who stared at him with something new in her eyes. Respect. You risked everything, she said softly. Ward gave a small, tired grin. That's what we do. She studied him for a long moment. Then, almost reluctantly, she nodded. Perhaps your kind is more dangerous than I thought. Not because of your power, but because you never stop. Ward met her gaze. That's humanity's edge. Outside, the stars stretched wide, waiting for whatever came next. The Resolute Dawn drifted through the silent void, its hull scorched and battered but still holding strong. The crew worked tirelessly, patching systems, repairing conduits, and calming their nerves after the desperate escape. The enemy fleet was left behind, confused and broken, but no one on board believed the danger was over. On the bridge, Captain Elias Ward leaned against the railing, his eyes fixed on the starlight ahead. His thoughts lingered on what had just happened. They had stood against impossible odds and survived, but survival was only the beginning. Now humanity had been noticed. Larger forces would come. At his side, Queen Velara sat in silence. Her pale skin glowed faintly, though her strength was clearly drained. She watched the humans with a strange fascination, her crimson eyes thoughtful. These mortals were fragile, their lifespans short, yet they fought with a tenacity her kind had never possessed. Ward broke the silence. We need a plan. Escaping once won't save us forever. If the Dominion remnants came, others will follow. They know you're alive now. The Queen's lips curved faintly, though not in amusement. Yes, my return has already shifted the currents of the void. Old enemies will stir, rivals will plot. They will not rest until I am ashes scattered across the stars. Then I need allies, Ward said firmly. The science officer listening nearby frowned. Captain, who in the galaxy would ally with us now? If they learn we're sheltering her, they'll turn on us too. Ward didn't answer right away. He looked again at the Queen. She's dangerous, yes, but she's also proof. Proof that humanity can stand in the same arena as the ancient powers. That we're not weak explorers, not just a footnote. If we play this right, we can forge something new. Velara tilted her head, intrigued. You would use me as a symbol? Ward shook his head. Not use you. Work with you. There's a difference. Her eyes narrowed. No one in her empire had ever spoken to her that way. For centuries she had been worshipped, feared, obeyed without question. Yet here stood a mortal who looked her in the eye and treated her as an equal. It was unsettling and strangely refreshing. She leaned back, her voice low. Perhaps you are right. Alone, I am a target. With you, I become something else. A force reborn. Very well, Captain. I will stand with your kind, for now. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but Ward gave a small nod. It was enough. Days passed as the Resolute Dawn limped through the void, searching for a safe harbor. Repairs were slow, resources running thin. Yet morale held steady, buoyed by the strange alliance that had formed. During the long hours, Ward and Velara often spoke. At first, their words were cautious, measured like pieces on a chessboard. But slowly, the conversations grew deeper. She told him of her empire, of battles fought among stars that now lay forgotten. She described worlds drenched in fire, civilizations consumed by ambition, victories that tasted hollow in the end. He listened, sometimes horrified, sometimes fascinated, always curious. In return, he told her of Earth, its oceans, its forests, its fragile beauty. He spoke of wars humanity had survived, of mistakes made and lessons learned. He spoke of persistence, of dreaming beyond limits. For the first time in centuries, the Queen felt something new stirring within her. Not hunger, not conquest, but curiosity. Your people, they remind me of flames, she said one evening, watching the stars through the viewport. Small, fragile, easily extinguished, yet together they burn bright enough to be seen across the dark. It is infuriating and admirable, Ward chuckled softly. We've been called worse. Their quiet exchange was broken when the navigation officer spoke. Captain, long-range scans show a station ahead. Neutral ground. Traders, mercenaries, refugees. It's not safe, but it's better than open space. Ward straightened. Plot, of course. We'll resupply, gather intel, keep weapons ready, but don't show our teeth unless we have to. When the resolute dawn arrived, the station loomed like a broken wheel drifting in space. Its lights flickered, its hull patched with mismatched metal. But ships of all kinds docked there, proof it was a haven of sorts, even if lawless. As they docked, Ward turned to Velara. Stay with us, don't draw attention. If they see who you are, her eyes flashed, but she smirked. Do not worry, Captain. I can hide when I choose. And hide she did. Cloaked in a shimmer of shadow, her presence faded, her features softened until she looked merely like a pale traveler. The crew who watched could hardly believe she was the same being who had destroyed fleets. On the station, whispers filled the air. News of the Dominion's clash had already spread. Rumors of a ghostly queen returning from the past ran wild. Many dismissed them as lies. Others feared they were true. Ward moved carefully, trading scarce supplies for fuel and parts. Every word he overheard confirmed his fear. More fleets were searching. The name of the Crimson Queen was spoken like a curse and a prophecy. Later, in a quiet corner of the station, Velara asked him, "Do you see now? My presence will always bring hunters. Do you regret it?" Ward met her gaze calmly. No, because running isn't the same as living. We'll face them, and we'll endure. For a moment, she had no answer. The repairs took 3 days. On the 4th, the station trembled as warships appeared outside. The Dominion had tracked them. Panic spread. As alarms blared, civilians scrambled for shelter. Mercenaries fled, traders cursed. Ward's crew rushed back to the resolute dawn. The Queen followed calmly, her voice low. They come faster than I thought. They are learning, adapting. Ward grimaced. So do we. As the enemy ships closed in, the Queen turned to him. Her crimson eyes burned with fierce resolve. Then let us show them what humanity and an empire of shadows can do together. They launched into the void. The battle erupted instantly. Dominion ships swarmed, weapons blazing. The resolute dawn weaved through fire, its smaller size granting speed. Velara rose on the bridge, her aura flaring like fire across the hull. Beams of light bent away, deflected by her will. Yet her body trembled with the strain. Ward shouted orders, crew working in perfect rhythm. Drones launched, mines detonated, enemy formations broke. For every hit they took, they struck back twice as hard. Still, the Dominion pressed in. Their numbers were relentless. At last Velara spread her hands, her voice ringing with cold fury. Enough. A wave of darkness spread from the ship, swallowing the enemy sensors in silence. For a heartbeat, the void turned black, hiding the resolute dawn. When light returned, the humans had vanished. The Dominion fleet searched wildly but found nothing. Far away, safe in the dark between stars, the resolute dawn emerged again. The crew collapsed into their chairs, exhausted but alive. Ward exhaled slowly. We can't keep running forever. We need something more than tricks. The Queen looked at him, her face pale but her eyes fierce. You need an empire. Not mine, of old, but something new. Built not on fear, but on fire that refuses to die. Ward's jaw tightened. An alliance. Humans and anyone else who wants freedom from the old powers. She nodded slowly. Yes. Together we could forge something. Even the void would respect. For the first time, her smile was not cruel but proud. Perhaps humanity is the key I never found. Ward smiled faintly. Then let's build it. And so, the legend began. In the months that followed, whispers spread across the galaxy. A human captain and a queen of shadows traveling together. Fleets that hunted them only to be broken or lost. Worlds that sheltered them found themselves defended in return. Where fear once spread, hope now followed. Refugees, outcasts, rebels. They rallied behind the idea, not of conquest, not of hunger, but of survival, of fire that would not fade. The Crimson Queen was no longer a monster of the past. She was a shield of the present, and at her side, humanity stood taller than ever before. For Captain Elias Ward, it was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, the enemies countless, but the spark was lit. And for Queen Velara, who once ruled through fear, the strange warmth of fighting beside humans grew stronger each day. She no longer dreamed only of power. She dreamed of a future. Together, they looked to the stars, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as allies who had faced the impossible and refused to fall. And somewhere in the silent dark, the galaxy began to whisper a new truth. Humanity was here, and with them, the Queen reborn. The stars would never be the same again.